Hi there, my name is Lucia, and I'm here with local artist Nadia. Nadia, can you tell me what inspired your journey as an artist?
Hello. Well, I cannot say that there is a person who affected on that too much, but I wanted to draw and to paint in my child. I remember that, and it's always I wanted to do that. Yeah, when I lived in Russia, in Petersburg, with my sister, we loved to sit together, to work with watercolors and to paint something. And most of kids in Soviet Union, it was like two big groups of kids. There is one group visited music school, and another group went to art school.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I did not go to art school. I wanted. My mom sent me to music school because music school was closer to our house. Oh. And well, but. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's fine. Finally, I learned how to play piano.
You're an artist now.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Anyway,
did you always intend on making art your career?
Well, yes, but my career was kind of strange, because in the beginning I did not study professionally art. I started in high school in a school with deep learning in mathematics and physics, and all of my friends after that went to some universities and institutes like with technical direction.
Technical, like
mathematics, physics. I went to study to University of St. Petersburg at Department of Physics, and so it took time, right? And in Soviet Union, by the way, it's really difficult to change the field of your interest. If you started to study at the Department of Physics, you cannot change your major. And to start to take art classes. It's two different institutes.
When did you start studying art? And what sort of styles?
It was really later.
Much later.
Yeah. Well, how I said and it was physics in the beginning, and later I came to America. And when I came to America, I came to university and continue to study physics. Because I didn't have money in it, and I needed to get a scholarship. Well, life is like snowball.
Everything. Yeah, but then here are your paintings, and I see that you have taken many inspirations from artists like still lifes and portraits, oil paintings, and classical realism. Would you say?
Yes, again, step by step, and I would like to finish into that. When I got my PhD in physics, and I was, I guess, finally smart enough to understand that it's necessary to change my life, because how I said, I wanted to paint always, and finally I decided that it's time, because if not to change your life, that and to look for some work in physics. So yeah, it would be just art would be just a hobby, and I decided to start to study art. And I looked for a good place for that, and for me, I came from physics, and for me it was like, okay, if I want to start to learn art, it should be step by step, like in physics, and you cannot start to work in quantum mechanics if you did not take classes just with elementary knowledge in.
You need the foundations.
Exactly, yeah. It's necessary. And I thought about classical realism, and I found a good school in Auckland. It's School of Realism of David Hardy. I'm not sure now how it works well, but it was a very good place. Just to get very good knowledge in classical realism, and good skills. And I spent there 3 years.
And did you ever get to showcase your art, like they're exhibited here?
Well, bodies, and we did their style like this one. And it's just like an example of exercises. And it's just
very classical, Michelangelo style.
Yeah, it's usual exercise, and everybody who is trying to get knowledge in classical realism, they work with that. And
when did you start to develop your own style of painting and your own sort of colors and form and function?
Well, but I wanted to change my life. I mean, it is another step. It is when I work 3 years in classical realism, I wanted to start something new, something fresh. And I had a very interesting episode. By the way, I had a big set of classical realism style works. And I was in Russia, and I found some people who wanted to buy that. And I asked my husband, who it was time just to come to Russia for him, and I asked him to bring them. It was like a bunch of works, and finally it was lost. Yeah. Finally, it was lost. Unfortunately, my husband, maybe fortunately, and he left these works in a plane, and left it there. Finally, we did that. Yeah, and so whole my life in classical realism school was lost. And it was a bunch. But well, I decided that maybe it's right time to change something.
Begin to go into a new direction. Tell me about maybe like the thought process behind choosing the colors of this painting.
Yeah, you see that it's a lot of colors in it, and it's big stroke in it, and not too much of tones.
Is it an oil painting?
It's oil pastel.
Oil pastel.
Everything what is here on this wall, it's oil pastel on a paper. And my favorite medium is oil and oil pastel. Oil pastel is very good because you can work with that inside. And at the same time, you will not have any problems which you can have with oil because it's smelly in it, and oil pastel is very good. Well, I like to rotate.
You like that. And do you prefer working with landscapes like that one over there, still lives, portraits?
Yeah, landscapes. I love landscapes because we live in such a beautiful place, but we live here in California in La Honda, very close to the ocean. And it's a fantastic place. I mean, if to talk about landscapes, seascapes, they're very beautiful in it. And I almost every weekend I go to the beach to paint something there, and I invite some
set
of
up
my
an easel there.
Yeah, it is, and I don't take even easel in it because usually I'm looking for a place with big rock, and
we have a lot of those here in our pictures.
Yeah, I'm trying to limit myself in things. It is. I invite my friend. She lives artist also. She lives in Russian River, but she likes to come to me, and we go together. Her name is Inna Talantova. Well, and we work together. It's exploit each other, and I love that. But portraits for me may be most important. Difficult to explain why, but I think that faces and figures, it's most difficult maybe, but most interesting objects.
Do you see these paintings as capturing a memory or maybe just a
usually I work face to face with a model. Mm-hmm. Of course, when I work with my self-portrait, it's my self-portrait, by the way, and I use my reflection or I use a photograph, but when I work with a model, I work face to face in the beginning. Sometimes models can sit longer than 1-2 hours. It's difficult. People are busy, and I can make a picture and continue to work in the studio, but I begin always with personally contacting. So I need to work face to face in beginning, because it's very difficult to work with a picture, a photograph. I mean, because photograph it's like a moment.
Right, and there's a lot of like arranging involved. For these still lifes, for example, do you arrange the flowers and the vases by yourself? Do you hire someone to do that, or is it just like you add your sort of artistic touches to whatever you see in front of you?
Flowers, and flowers usually I like to work with them in my house, outside in my garden. I put set up and I work with real flowers. All of them I made from real ones, and I love flowers. Yeah, it's very colorful. It's very interesting lines there, and beautiful spots. It's possible to make, and step by step, any artists are looking for something new for them, right? So for something their own. I do the same. I'm looking for my style. And something and not style. I don't call that. Oh, I sit here just looking for my own style. Of course not. But for me, interesting to make something new, right? So just to make bright lines sometimes, and the lines should live separately from the main picture, just to put on the top of that. Sometimes I use, for example, not covered some old work which I don't like, for example, and I don't cover with unicolor, and I start to work on the top of this painting, and to keep some open space there, something.
So aside from finding not really your style, but just like elements that you like to keep in your art, do you have any sort of mission that you think like you gain from being an artist?
I have just one mission, just to enjoy the process. And I'm very selfish here. I'm not a commercial artist, and I don't think about money when I work. Completely. And
right,
I
art should always come
want.
from a place of joy.
For me, person who thinks about, artist who thinks about money, they think about, okay, so this, for this gallery, this work should be like more realistic, or not more realistic, or more reddish, or more bluish. That's it. It will not work out, and it's necessary to work like you feel, like you want. It's a very selfish process.
Well, yeah, you say selfish, but I see that you have taught many students of all different ages. What sort of lessons do you think are most important for people to learn, as beginning artists especially?
Yeah, I teach classes, and I love to teach classes, and I work with adults and kids. And what is most important there is,
form, function, style.
How I moved in arts. So I'm trying to give almost the same process to my students, just to move step by step. Most of my students start, and I recommend to start, I talk now about adults, to start from realistic style, with charcoal and chalk works like you saw here, and move step by step to their own style. Yes, and because if they will not know too much about perspective, proportions, tone, general colors, how to mix that, and how they will work, with their own style, and it's kind of difficult.
And
right?
since you didn't really take art lessons as a child, do you find it more easy to connect with adults who want to create learning?
It's different story.
Yes.
Well, but from one side it's different story, but from another side it's I work with kids like with adults, actually. It looks maybe strange because I work sometimes with 4 years old kids, but it's like with adults. We have set up usually. We talk about how to start, what kind of colors we need. Of course, I don't give them classical realism, of course, but we work, the same style like we work with setup, but I give kids more freedom. Kids cannot be limited. because for kids, art is a language of self-expression. They want to say something. And all kids, by the way, have something to say. And
Yes, I completely agree.
and art is like a language. How I say is I start to work sometimes with 4 years old. They speak, of course, English or Russian. We have bilingual classes. But sometimes it's more difficult for them to paint and to draw.
But then for adults, how do you find it difficult to translate maybe what they have hardwired into their brains as art into this new form of expression? Because like you said, you place a few more restrictions on
For
this
kids,
style
you
of
mean?
teaching. For adults.
For adults, there is for beginning there is a special technique. It's a very unique technique.
Tell me more.
Yeah, it's classical realism technique which I have and its result is guaranteed. It is good result. They move step by step, and everybody who wants to draw like this one can do that. Anybody who wants, anybody who is ready to spend time for that. Yes, I will teach.
So classical realism, correct me if I'm wrong, is it?
Exactly. Well, I just run a little bit faster. Everybody can draw like this one, and 100% of guarantee. You can.
Oh.
Yeah, you can. But later, after that, when you'll reach to this level, after that there is a question. If you will feel to move forward and to start to work in more freestyle and to start to develop your own style, somebody wants, somebody doesn't want, somebody different styles, of course, and here we have very individual talks, and we work with everybody very individual. But for classical realism, it's technique, step by step.
I see. Well, that's so interesting. Then, how do you help your child students figure out how to find their voice?
Yeah, this one is a little bit different. How I said, the same style, like when we have set up and they work together, and I look how they work. And of course, in the process, we talk with them. I try to give them some information like basic stuff, and about what about sizes, what about proportions, what about colors.
I would love to see some examples of like how you interact with
Yes,
students.
I brought some stuff, and by the way, I brought some works, most of them of my son works, because kids, when they come to work, there is after finishing, they take their works and
Bring him into show.
and I'm ready to show something, and you'll see that it's like setups in it, and it was a vase with some flowers and some plate in it. And for beginning, I need to say that he was maybe 5 or 6 years old when he did that.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. How I said, it was still life. They work with still life. Sometimes we work outside, and we talk more about the wind, the skies, how light, exactly. And from time to time, we talk about famous artists, and they are trying to make a copy of them. But most of our talks, it's just about still life, and they work with colors. They work, by the way, with oil pastel also. It's a very good material in it, and very colorful, very easy to mix them. I mean, different colors. They like them, and sometimes they use colors. I mean, not oil, acrylic and watercolors. Yeah, some works. It's again. Anatoly, where is Anatoly? Anatoly, do you want to come here? Yeah, it's my son. No, поздоровайся.
Hi.
Yeah, it's I show your works. And what is your favorite, by the way? Какая твоя любимая? Yeah, now Anatoly wants to show the portrait. we work with kids. Of course, it's fun, right? So it should be fun. It's fun always, and it's with their favorite heroes. Yeah, for example, and it's,
Oh, it's
yeah,
like
and of
inspiration
course
for
it
the
is
heroes.
boys, and it's like that. But most of our exercises, it's about colors. Colors. And parallel to that, we talk about proportions, sizes, and its composition. We talk about that. And it's, but kids love colors, naturally love. And but we need Anatoly, for example, was not very enthusiastic in the beginning. These classes. And you can sit down. Thanks. But step by step, he started to work very well in it. And my point that all kids should try to paint and to draw. All kids. In it, sometimes parents think that they don't want. In it, they don't paint home. In it, and don't ask to buy watercolor or pencils. They don't know that. In it, in the process. In the process, they will open something interesting, and it's a very creative process, and it's to draw for kids, and and maybe a couple of more. We work with different color paper, but we need, and sometimes it's bring pretty interesting effects here. Pink color paper, for example.
Which material is this? Is still oil?
It's oil pastel. Kids, how I said, it's the same material in it. And here,
Oh, I see. It's exposing the paper.
yeah, exactly. It is. They put a couple of layers, and after that, scratching is with pellet knife in it there, and it brings very interesting effects in it. That just like some pattern, some very narrow lines. There is. Yes. For example, black paper. It's a very interesting. Yeah, this one.
This one, another still life.
Yeah, another still life. You see that not standard sizes. Sometimes it's interesting idea to ask kids to work not in standard like 11 by 14 inches, but with long ones. Yeah, and it brings some interesting effects.
How do your students decide on which projects that they like to work on?
We talk about that. And I'm trying to hear them. What they want, what I would like to see from with them. It should be connection. Yeah, between student and teacher. Yeah.
I find that many adults grow up to think that they aren't creative enough to be an artist at all, even to paint or draw something simple. Like, how do you sort of help people past that mindset?
Well, so I have a big experience in this and that. Well, so again, it's necessary to understand them.
To understand their process and sort of how their creative process works.
Yeah.
And do you implement techniques that you learn from the classes that you've taken here and in Russia?
Yes, and I spent a lot of time in Russia with very good artists there, and very, very interesting. And my teacher is Anatoly Zaslavsky. He spent a lot of time with me.
So you finally got to go to art school.
After art school, I work, how I said, in classical realism, but I wanted to change realism to something more interesting for myself, or something more expressive.
How do you generate that sort of interest in your arts?
Well, let me explain that it is, and that I met a friend, one guy who said me that I need to go to Russia and to meet with some artists there, and I did that, and it was something new because I was in a group of artists there who worked so well in it, and it was so interesting for me in it, and so So it's for any artist who is looking. I mean, for the person who wants to be an artist or who wants to draw and to paint, it's necessary to look for a good teacher. Yes, it's the most important. It's not important to go to art institute, how I think it is, but to find a good teacher, it's extremely important, who will direct you in the right way.
And classical realism is such an influential style of art, but I feel like realism definitely is also like a very small subset of what art could be, because your art, I see like it has elements of realism.
Of course, it's difficult to forget about that.
Right.
It's impossible.
But do you like to add some sort of abstraction to your paintings and to help your students find that?
But it is, and when I started in a school of realism, I didn't understand any abstract works. But step by step, I understood that. There is abstraction in it, and sometimes it's very interesting abstraction. And sometimes I work in abstract style. So, but anyway, I come back to objects, and it's very difficult to forget about that.
Well, that's really lovely to know. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but would you let us know where we can find your studio? Do you have a website?
Yes, I have a studio in Santa Clara, and we work there with adults and with kids. And we have website, and we have very active pages on Facebook, Vinogradova Art Studio. I just rotate I bring new works there almost every class in it, and my own page, Nadia Vinogradova, Facebook. And I invite everybody to join us.
All right, thank you so much. This was very lovely, and we'll be back more next time.
Thank you.